Hello and welcome to my channel. And this is going to be released to everyone because I just want to test this out. I was doing a live stream on this unloaded 78-year-old 22 rifle that had been in my family for going on 3 generations now. And it's difficult for me to set up a live stream to begin with because I'm using a cell phone. I passed my gigabyte limit, so T-Mobile will try to throttle me, or I've actually got Metro, so that's even a step below T-Mobile's, priority list. So it could be on my end, but 4 minutes into the video, it just stopped. I didn't hit any button or anything. It started to say it was, uploading the video and processing, and then it didn't even do that. I've never had that happen on a video before. So one of my theories is they didn't like the content. I don't advocate anyone doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything unsafe. This is a totally unloaded firearm. I wasn't pointing at anyone. I was just discussing about how this thing had been in my family for 3 generations, and it shut off. But anyways, we'll let that slide, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to do this as a video, and then I'm going to do it as a premiere, because I'm going to see maybe if they got an objections to someone talking live about guns. This is guns, all right? These are called firearms guns. We call them pew-pews because for some reason you can't talk about certain words without getting banned or censored or shadow banned or whatever. And that's wrong. This is America. I understand this is, you can't argue First Amendment rights on a private platform. But you're dealing with Americans. And you're dealing with American history here. And we should be allowed to discuss our history without any encumbrance. Especially when we're creating content for the company. They're going to make money. All right, so they won't make money out of companies that don't like firearms. But guess what? There are a lot of companies that make money off people who like and buy firearms accessories. So if you'll forgive this mini rant here that I've got going on, I just had to get that off my chest because I disagree. If you disagree with an idea or anything like that, present a logical argument. Don't just bully your way through it and, we have the power to shut things off that we don't like. We don't like you talking about, you're not pulling the party line. The government, says this and you must obey. When did that ever become popular in America? I mean, we're kind of known for being rebellious. We didn't obey the king. We didn't listen to him. And it's just upsetting that, like it or not, firearms have played an integral part in America's history throughout their life. Only recently have a minority corrupted it so much that when people think about firearms, they think about mass shootings and stuff. That's not what happens in real life with the majority of people that have firearms. I'm sorry. I hate to have to tell it to you, but it's going to break a party line. And like I said, I will not be surprised if this video gets in trouble. But I am not advocating anything illegal. I'm not doing anything unsafe. I'm just expressing my opinions on how I do not like the country that I served 6 years for of my life to protect freedom to do and the right, the pursuit of happiness. This is one of it. This makes me happy. This is also very practical. Firearms are very practical for if you have to gather food. And it doesn't have to be a super automatic blast or anything. This is a pump, a 22 pump. But its capability of handling long rifle, shorts, any 22 basically you put in there, and makes it a real game getter, a survival weapon, Plus, it has a takedown. I just wanted to show that. I'm not talking about any gun modifications or anything. This is the way it came from the factory. This head right here is slotted out for use with coins. That's why a lot of people, when they sit there and they try to put a flat screwdriver in there and they go, oh, no, it doesn't fit, they wind up gouging out. It's not meant to be super tight. This is just holding, there's a dovetail up here that holds this metal piece right here in. And this is a bolt that holds the rest of it in. If you tighten that down, all you're doing is squeezing this receiver. It does nothing. It does nothing to make the gun function better. Now maybe, you know, I've seen one where some guy was having a problem. He was loading it. He was trying to load it upside down. And he took a screwdriver out and he just tightened the crap out of that. It's wrong. That's not the way it's meant to be. But I mean, this is a 1946 gun, so they built things differently, all right? This is like a shotgun. You push this button right here, and the whole action comes back. As you can see, the chamber is empty. We will remove the magazine tube down here to show you that, you know, this is how you would load them. You would pull this tube. There's a little squeeze thing over here. If I can find it. Where is the little squeeze thing? Oh. There it is. Maybe it wasn't a squeeze thing. It's been a while since I've used this. I think it is. Anyway. There's a little detent there. Oh yeah, see that? See? I wasn't hallucinating. Alright, so you pull that tube up. You don't have to pull it all the way out. You get about that clear and you just drop one cartridge in at a time when you're holding it upright. And they just slide right in there. 15 rounds of 22 long rifle. I don't remember how many of short, but it holds quite a bit more of short. 22 short. And then it's just a matter of you push that button to release the action if it's been locked. There's a hammer back here. If we've got time, I'll take it apart and show you how to take it apart. But when I was a kid, I never saw my father take this apart. I never saw my grandfather take it apart. I never took it apart. After I got it as an adult, I managed to get this unscrewed, and I didn't pull it all the way out. This was before YouTube or anything else, and so I didn't understand how you would get this thing apart. You know, I was like, well, I unscrewed this. The screw won't come completely out. Well, there's a trick to it. You got to kind of like wiggle it, and then it comes way out. And it's got to be all the way clear. I've taken it apart since then, you know, thanks to YouTube. But like I said, I've seen some idiots on YouTube doing some stuff that they really shouldn't be doing, and that's torquing the crap out of this. This is not, you can see, it's got knurling on it. It's meant to be tight, hand tight, not machine tight. There, sorry for that rant there, but it just irks me, you know, to see that. The Model 121 Fieldmaster is a beefed up version of the Model 12, the Remington Model 12. It looked a lot like this, but the 121 has a little bit bigger bolt lug on it and everything, and that's mainly because what was starting to come out were high velocity 22 long rifles. The original 22 was a black powder round. And so a lot of guns that were built, you know, like I don't remember the date, the year of manufacture for the Model 12, but I know it was like 1915 and stuff back then. I mean, it was maybe before that, but it was definitely way back when. And the problem with black powder rounds is they usually can't, they're corrosive, so they'll pit the chambers and everything else, which can lead to problems. And they can't handle higher pressure. Black powder usually can't handle higher pressure. So that's why you see brass used in a lot of them and stuff, you know, because they can use a softer metal in the frame and stuff like that. But anyway, still, getting back to this gun right here. This, like I said, my grandfather bought this gun probably in 1946. He gave it to my dad. I don't know when my father had it, but I remembered ever since I was a kid. It was one of the guns. You know, it was always in there, and I just loved the looks of it and the way it's made. Now, if you look back here, if you take this apart, you don't have to take these screws out. And if you're wondering what that's for a tang peep sight that you can put on here. These were used as gallery guns a lot of times. And believe it or not, carnivals and stuff like that used to have where you could walk up, pick up one of these guns. It may have a cable on it, you know, or something like that, but pick up one of these guns and shoot at a target with 22 ammo. Now, it was usually those CB rounds, you know, that it almost sounds like a suppressed weapon coming out of there, and there's not much power, but, you know, back in the day, we trusted the public, you know, to not go nuts and turn on the crowd with a, you know, but now there's no way you could do that nowadays. So like I said, this was a different era. This was a different time. And it's a heavy gun. I'll try to get it weighed here, but my bathroom scales ran out of batteries. I've got a postal scale. I don't know if he would fit on it. But anyways, I'll try to get a weight on it for you there. But the thing I like about this rifle is it is reliable. And with those CB rounds and this long 24-inch barrel in it, you basically have a legal suppressed weapon with one of those. It's not going out real fast, but I can guarantee you those CB rounds will take small game if you're within the range that you need to be within, and you're nowhere to aim on the animal to drop it, you know. It's not a long range type of thing, but the advantage of not making a loud report, you know, like a supersonic crack and everything, is first off, you're not going to alert a lot of other game or people. If you want to, you know, be quiet about stuff, you can dispatch a game and nobody would be the wiser. This thing's taken many a squirrel with 22 short. I've never really used the CB longs on that for taking, actually I did. I shot a rabbit in the head with it once, and it dropped him. I mean, it was like he had sat up on his hind legs and was sitting like this, and I had the CB longs, CCI, yeah, it was CCI made them, CB longs. They're basically just a primer in a 22 round. And I popped him from about, I'd say, 15, 20 yards. And bam! He was standing up and then he went down. I mean, it was that, you know, twitching a little bit after that. But I mean, it dropped him. It sounded no louder than like a CO2 pistol at most. Not even that loud, because I've shot those before. I used to have a Daisy when I was a kid. And we get those little cartridges in there and trying pop, pop, pop. This is not as loud as that. There's no cycling of the action like a semi-automatic would, and usually on the CB round, you won't have cycling anyway. Some of them can shoot them, but you know, you have to manually do the bolt. Like I said, this is a very useful rifle, you know, to have, and most of them are pretty well beat up. I think I tightened this one up too much. This one has been, I didn't use a screwdriver, but this one has been, see, this guy's kind of dished out like that. Will it fit? You should use a coin. I don't have any coin. We got a washer. Yeah, a washer here. Man, I put that thing back in too tight, I guess. It should be that you shouldn't need any tools to take this down or put it back together. You know, I mean, that's the whole purpose. There we go. We got it started. We would have needed a dime or a penny or something on it. And you can see this thing is threaded. All right, so if you're going to take this down, one of the first things you do is you take it off safety. You make sure it's unloaded. Take the magazine out. You know, if you think a lot of this is elaborate and you shouldn't be doing this, you don't need to be doing that and blah, blah, blah. If you do it this way, you're not going to have any problem with an accidental discharge. I'm just saying. And I don't care how wise you think you are. I know some very smart people that have had what they call a negligent discharge, because you are negligent when it happens. You know, it's not an accident. It's just something that's going to naturally occur if you skip things, if you skip procedures, if you skip things you would normally do. See how this still needs to be unscrewed manually? I don't know if I'm in frame here. It needs a washer and stuff. It's just because this thing hasn't been taken apart and put together like this a lot, if ever. I may be the first person that's done that, because I looked in there and it hadn't been cleaned for a while, but I wanted to show you the condition of a rifle. All right, so you see how that's spinning free? You think, all right, that's it. It's not going to go any further. You know, that's it. It's a captive screw. It's not going to go any further. You're wrong. You're wrong. You just got to wiggle. You just got to wiggle. Now, the ones you see on YouTube, man, they just go, bing! And the thing just falls apart. But what I do is I just sit here and it's going to come straight out, all right? It should come straight out. So we got to get this piece to separate from this piece. Now remember, I'm almost as old as this gun here. It's got me by maybe 10 years. So it's 10 years older than me. But one apart. Nope. See, the hammer is compressed back over here when you haven't pulled the trigger. When you pull it, it comes forward. I thought maybe it would clear it a little bit more. But like I said, this is why this thing. I'm gonna have to karate chop you. I'm gonna pause this for a minute while I struggle with it, because you know, I can. This is not a live stream, so I can pause it. All right, all I had to do was point this down toward my leg, hold on to the fore end on here, and pull back. All right, but you can see some of the, get that thing out of the way. Some of the machines, see, they have 2 pins that have to line up. And see how these screws don't even involve with that, but that's your hammer. This is part of the cartridge lift system. You know, the little loading thing right there. Back up in there is your bolt. You can pull the bolt out fairly easily. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can pull the bolt out and clean the bore. You know, you should clean a rifle from back here, from the breech side, rather than the bore. The main reason that when you're ramming a tube down here, you've got a good chance of nicking or messing up one of the rifling, and the bullet is twisting all the way down the barrel until the very last, and if it has a little bit more twist on one end than the other, it's going to throw it off. It's going to be inaccurate. And so that's one reason why you don't do that. But as you can see, if it's a big pain to do it, you know, most people won't. But you can see, here comes your little bolt, and all you got to do, I believe, is just lift up on him a little bit, and he'll come right back out. But you got to have this guy all the way back like it is. Let's see. You're gonna watch me mess this up. This bolt should just come right up, but there we go. I think if you go forward, it'll come, yeah, there we go. It comes loose. And there's your bolt. And I can guarantee you this bolt has not been taken out in a long time. But you can get to the breech face, the extractor, the firing pin, all of these things. See, that's the firing pin right there under spring pressure. All of these things are important. You just put this thing back into the little lug right here, drops into the piece of the receiver like that, and then you just pull this back and it should just grab it in theory and pull it forward when you put it back together. Oh, there it is. See? So I should be doing a lot of that because there's a piece here. See this? This piece likes to fall out from what I've heard. So assembly is just the reverse, probably with a lot less grunting and a more, I hope it goes good. But what I usually do is I try to, first I'm going to pull this hammer back so we don't have to compress that. I just pulled it back with my thumb. And keep in mind, people, you know, you can armchair argue all you want about this, but I haven't done this a lot. I'm trying to do it while holding a heavy rifle and standing over a camera, and it may take another pause. Technical difficulties, please stand by. But what I like to do is try to start that lip up there. I don't know if you can see all this. Things are falling. I've never tried to do this through the camera. Let me put it that way. Let's see, we got to get that bolt all the way back. This is kind of a pain in the noggin thing. Is it's captive, but you're wiggling around with it. So I guess you got to have this side facing you. I don't know, people. I'd like to show you how to do this on camera, but I don't have the time or the patience, you know, to do it. So I'm going to pause this, and then it's going to magically either reappear or it's going to still be disassembled. Either way, we'll find out here in a second. All right. So it's a good thing I sat down and did all that, because if you've ever tried to do anything over a camera and everything, it's not the same. Like if you ever try to sharpen a knife through the camera lens or whatever, it's not the same. And you'll find out. But what I had to do was I had to make sure that the hand guard was all the way forward so the parts would clear. You start this end first because there's two pins here. You don't want to start whacking on it and bend those pins. You want to make sure those pins are aligned, and then you just kind of have to push down with your hand on this and start guiding it in. And during the process, man, I dropped this buttstock on the floor. And this is an old school buttstock, all right? Well, that screw's a little bit proud because it needs to be fixed. But, yeah, I think I woke up somebody downstairs. But, you know, it's like 11:45 in the morning. Anyways, putting it back together, you know, you don't have to rubber mallet it or anything. You just make sure that you're not, you know, putting the barrel in mud, but you put it on the ground, you know, barrel first, and you just push down on this, and it'll go back in. But as you can see, it's kind of a pain in the butt to take apart. And see, even though I just tightened it up by hand, this thing is tight. It's really tight. But it functions. You can see the little Peterson designed device, that little shell lifter right there, pulls it up. Cross bolt safety. Red means fire. This is safe. You know, again, this thing's completely unloaded. I don't have any rounds even out here. But it takes a tubular magazine. You don't want to lose this. You basically have a single shot rifle. If that happens, you'd have to breech load each round in there. It's just it doesn't have a lot of spring tension on it anymore. Throughout the years, you could probably drift that pin out and replace that if you wanted to, but like I said, it's old school, intricately machined parts. You know, this is back when they gave a crap about what they were doing, and they didn't have a machine doing it. A lot of this was built by hand. But yeah, it's a really nice gun, and the value on this gun is priceless. I mean, that's the value I put on this gun. You couldn't buy it from me. It's not for sale. Because I could not replace it. There's no way I could replace it. Because it was owned by my grandfather and my father. So that's what separates some knives and guns from others. It's nostalgia. If it means something to you, that meaning can't be gained anywhere else. I can't find any, you know, I've got very few of my grandfather's parts and very few of my father's stuff left, you know, and that's just a connection, you know, that's just a nostalgic connection. Like part of my work sharp is running around here grabbing stuff. But yeah, so there, you know, I hope you enjoyed this. Just remember, you know, YouTube, I did not talk about doing anything modifications. I never handled the gun in an unsafe manner. There are no rounds here. I have experience with what I'm talking about on this, as far as like firearm handling, because I was a certified firearms instructor. So, and I've been in the military, so I've been around firearms and weapons and stuff, and I know how to use them. And I think that's something we should continue to encourage, you know, in the next generation is firearms use. Knowing how to use firearms used to be a very important thing for a country's national defense. You know, when somebody went into basic training, they didn't have to teach them how to use a gun because they already knew. Most of them already knew how to do it. The people that have never handled a firearm before and stuff, a lot of times those are easier to instruct, you know, than people that have developed bad habits. But anyway, you know, I'm rambling on this. You know, the stock could be refinished and everything else. I'm gonna leave it as is. You know, I'm gonna clean it up as far as like make sure there's no rust and oil, and I can't take it apart, not as badly as that last time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I would whip out my AK and go through it also, but it may have to be in the same format, you know, because that one's a really bad gun according to its image, you know. It's just a firearm like any other firearm. I've owned that AK for over 45 years, and it's never done anything illegal. I've watched it. I kept an eye on it, you know, just to make sure. Because I heard, you know, they've got a bad reputation. And it's never done anything bad. It's never done it. Neither have I. Huh, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how I haven't done anything bad with it? And yet society thinks that that's a bad deal. Well, you know, here's my little rant on that. I don't care what your feelings are about it. It's in the Constitution of the United States. And if you want to parse it to where it says, well, they were just talking about the National Guard. No, they've got another thing in the Constitution about the National Guard. What they meant was all able-bodied people should be allowed to keep and bear arms because we might need to use them in an emergency. That's what it was for. It's not. It wasn't for hunting, you know, and it didn't specify you can only have muzzle-loading rifles. You know, all your other amendments have evolved with it, your freedom of speech and everything. Do you want to limit your Second Amendment just because you don't like it anymore? You think it's archaic? There are some people in our society that just do not like the idea of people owning firearms. The only people they want to own firearms are people that they trust. The government, the police, people that have been trained and stuff like that. Well, you know, if you're a farm boy and you grew up, you got your training, you know. If you didn't know how to learn how to handle a firearm, you shot yourself in the foot or something. You learned the hard way. So, yeah, it just bugs me. And that's why I don't do a lot of stuff on firearms. I don't do a lot of stuff on politics and laws and everything because they think they're stupid. The only laws are regulating. If you think about it, it only abides to the lawful. The lawless, the criminals, by their very nature, by their definition, don't care whatever law you write, you know. So I'm not saying we shouldn't have any laws or anything like that. I'm just saying your argument's weak. Your argument's weak that we should all be disarmed because you would feel better, you know. Until everybody is civilized, then yeah, you have the right to protect yourself, and the government's not going to get there fast enough to protect you. They're going to write down what happened. You're on your own. In most cases, in almost every case, when things go bad, you're on your own. It's up to you to protect your family. You can call whoever you want, 911 or whatever. They don't have a legal right to protect you individually, just society. So just keep that in mind, you know. I'm not going to give up the rights that I've had my whole life without an argument. Let's put it that way. I'm not talking about any aggression. I'm just talking about I will vigorously defend my right, that I have not violated anything and I've not hurt anybody just because somebody has feelings, you know, about, I feel we should be more like this. Well, yeah, until human nature evolves to where it gets past your feelings and people start behaving better, there will always be a need for firearms. There will always be, and who do you want to have them? Only the rich and powerful? Only the military? Only the law enforcement? That's stupid. That's dumb, you know? These are called equalizers for a reason. Anyway, I'll get off my rant. Like I said, I'll probably be demonized, demonetized, chastised, double secret probation, but I don't care. You know? I'm old enough that I don't care. If you want to take down this video for shocking content, what? Ideas shock you? Words shock you? I'm not advocating anything illegal, you know? I'm just advocating that we have a right in America that we should not give up. I've lived in countries where they gave up their rights to be free, and now they're worried about people running around stabbing people with knives and stuff. Well, you know, they might not stab people with knives if they knew those people might be armed. And, you know, that's a weak argument. Whatever, go ahead. Say what you say, you know. I know how people are. Criminals go after weak individuals. They want gun-free zones. They want places where you can't carry this and that. Because why? Those are signs. Those are words they probably can't even read. You know? It doesn't apply to them in their mind. So what are you going to do about that? Huh? What's your answer to that? Cop escort you everywhere you go? Walk you to your car? Walk while you're walking your dog to protect you? Well, if you're rich, you can have bodyguards and armed security. But if you're poor, how are you going to defend yourself against multiple opponents if it comes down to that? Scream? Run? Cry? I'm not. I'm going to defend myself. And if people lose their life in the process, They shouldn't have been trying to take mine. It's that simple. You know? It's shocking. I know. Shocking content. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this for views, like I said. This thing will probably get me into more trouble than it will help. But if anybody's got any doubt about how I feel about firearms, I have 2 family members that would probably not be here today if I hadn't intervened with a firearm. All right? I didn't use it as far as like discharging it, but I had it and I was willing to use it. And the people that I went up against knew that. And one person outweighed me by a couple 100 pounds. But I had an equalizer, and I was willing to use it. And he knew it. So, you don't mess with my family, I won't mess with you. That's my little saying on that. And doing that is a lot harder. You know, not pulling the trigger when you could is a lot harder to do, believe me, than pulling the trigger. And it takes its toll on you, you know, because you go through and you think, man, what did I do? How could I have done this? It's stressful, man. Like I said, for the longest time, I could not talk about either incident without my throat constricting. I relived the incident, and man, it wasn't easy, but I made it. Everybody else made it, and sometimes that's all that matters. You go into a situation where somebody's life could end, and you come out of it with nobody's life ending, nobody getting hurt, you succeeded. I don't care if you had to tuck your tail and swallow your pride or whatever, you know, and walk away. If nobody got hurt, you won that battle. That's just my opinion. Anyways, I've ranted on too long. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.